Okay, great. Let's go ahead and start. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is Wendy. I am your host and your moderator today. Just a quick reminder, your lines are muted. They'll stay that way for the duration of the webinar, and we are recording. Should you have a question, please use the Q&A function. You'll see it either at the top or the bottom of your tray, depending on the Zoom configuration. You are welcome to ask a question anonymously if you prefer not to share your name. It's up to you and whatever you feel the most comfortable with. Thanks again for joining us. I know everyone is busy. Just a really quick introduction about AtomWorks. We are solution architects, consultants, project managers, and what we do is workload automation. We enjoy helping our clients and customers with migrations, implementing workload automation solutions, licensing help, upgrading, and we are a Broadcom Expert Advantage partner. So we're very familiar with the Broadcom ecosystem. We were founded in 2019, and since that time, we have delivered extensive consulting. We have employees who are part of the Broadcom Knights program, which demonstrates technical excellence. We've completed many upgrades, hundreds of them, and then also have been awarded a Rising Star in both technical enablement and expert advantage consulting from Broadcom. The services we offer include traditional consulting, everything you would expect, like implementations and upgrades, but we also can help you with health checks and optimizing your environment. And one of the things that AtomWorks does very well is training. We want to ensure that as your partner in workload automation, that folks on your team also have the skills that they need to use the software and maximize the application integrations. So it's everything from basic to really advanced training. And there's also extended support for those times when a technical issue may go beyond the capability that you have in-house, or if you just need a little bit of extra help. Just a really quick disclaimer, I won't read the whole thing, but this webinar does discuss both CA technologies and Broadcom technologies. Any statements, any forward-looking statements are not a promise of future functionality. And with that, I'd like to introduce Dennis Strinkowski, and I'll turn it over to Dennis. He's our head of development here at AtomWorks, and he is also a workload automation subject matter expert. Dennis.
All right, cool. Thanks, Wendy. Hey, yeah, like Wendy said, I'm Dennis Strinkowski. Just a little background. I started with AppWorks back in 2004 after being a customer for 4 years with a Pittsburgh-based company. At AppWorks, I initially focused on Illusion banner engagements. And then following the merger with Automic, I led the migrations team in the US and gained a lot of experience working with a lot of the other automation tools out there, such as Control-M, Redwood, Autosys, and all the others. And just one thing more I'd like to add about AtomWorks, we're a very strong team. Everyone on the team has 15 to 20 plus years experience with these products. We all started with AppWorks and continued through the Automic merger and still have great relationships with many of the customers out there. Where I think our real unique strength is in addition to knowing the products, our team knows the majority of the major solutions and integrations. Like I mentioned, Oracle E-Business, JD Edwards, Illusions Banner, Informatica, Oracle Retail, Oracle Utilities, Customer Care and Billing, and many others. So that's where I really think we stand out. We just come with a wealth of knowledge, not only of the products, but all the solutions that customers use with the solutions. Cool. With that, what we're going to talk about today is replatforming your workload automation with Automic. What does that mean? Well, first thing is it could just be upgrading to a newer version of the current software, or switching, between, vendor or solutions such as from AppWorks to Automic, or moving, from on-premise to cloud or hybrid solutions out there or environments. And then the big question is why replatform? When upgrading, it's mainly because maybe you're at the end of life, you're on a unsupported or soon to be unsupported version and need to get upgraded. Also, things like lack of scalability and performance sometimes come into play. or high maintenance costs. Or sometimes it's a need for newer modern features, like we're saying, like maybe going to the cloud, or, needing APIs such as REST APIs or DevOps support. Also, getting upgraded or patched to the latest version to prevent, security vulnerabilities. Many companies now have policies which require them to keep up with, patches for security purposes and always being on the latest current versions. Cool. All right. So we're going to talk about now is why migrate to Automic. Automic has a lot of great features. It's always keeping up to date, implementing new features. One of the first things is it supports multiple databases such as Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, and DB2. We've actually helped some customers migrate to Postgres, to help reduce costs. Or also, some people, maybe they were on SQL Server, but, they have an Oracle license and they can reduce costs switching from SQL Server to Oracle. So we have experience, helping customers just migrate their database that they're using with Automic. It also has, support for the majority of OSs and hardware on the market today. And one really cool big thing I'll talk about next is the multi-client technology. This is where a single Automic environment can be broken into smaller, more manageable clients, such as test, development, QA, and training. What's really cool about these two is they can quickly be duplicated if you want to do some testing, and maybe when you're done with the testing, then delete it or blow it away once you're done. This is an advantage over some products like AppWorks where you typically need multiple masters to handle different environments, such as if you have a QA and a dev and a test, those are typically handled with multiple masters. Or in Automic, those become clients of a single Automic instance. Also, Automic has much more advanced analytics and reporting, allowing you to do things like create custom dashboards. And it also supports Broadcom's AAI or Automic or Automation Analytics and Intelligence. This provides you more ability to track and meet your SLAs and can alert you before you miss an SLA. Also, if you have multiple automation solutions out there, such as Automic, AutoSys, Control-M, it can give you a single view into all of them. So larger customer, we do have some customers with multiple automation solutions, and this gives you a single view of all of them. Also, Automic has a much more robust active, and high availability, which makes it much more scalable to meet high workload demands. There are Automic customers running hundreds of thousands to millions of jobs a day using Automic. Also, OS agents are backwards compatible. So when you do upgrade, you don't have to get all the agents done at once. In addition to that, the latest versions of Automic have something called the Centralized Agent Upgrade, or CAU, which if you're in an environment that has a lot of agents, this now allows you to push the agent upgrades from the automation engine to the servers. And, not having to go out there physically touch all the servers anymore to do agent upgrades. So a big time savings if you have a lot of agents in your environment. In addition, Automic has a full set of APIs. They have a full Java API that allows you to do everything you can in the application itself, and a REST API, which is quickly catching up to the Java API. There's also something called the Call API, and this allows you to actually run Automic scripting from within different programs, such as like Java, C++, COBOL, and also allows you to integrate into different, scripting languages, such as Windows batch scripts or Unix shell scripts. So it's a way to integrate with AppWorks or Automic within those platforms as well. Also, the rapid automation agents. It has, a great set of integrations. This is just a handful here that I'm mentioning, REST and SOAP, Web Services, Oracle eBusiness, PeopleSoft, Hyperion, JD Edwards, Elution Banner, FTP, and Informatica. And like I said, that's just a a handful. If you got to the website, you can see, the list of the full integrations that Automic has. And also our team, if it's something they don't have a built-in solution for, that's something that Tomworks can always help with as well, building custom solutions for maybe any of your internal custom applications you have. All right, so what are the key considerations when moving to Automic? First, we do an analysis of your current state. We want to go out and get an inventory of all your jobs, dependencies, schedules, and also identify any customizations in your environment that, things maybe you're doing that were not out of the box with your current solution. And then also check and see which integrations you're currently using. Are you a Oracle e-business or JD Edwards shop? Another thing we dig into is see if you're using any of your current solutions APIs. For example, submitting jobs from a script or another program. Things like that. Typically, we'll have to look into see how we redesign those for Automic. But like I mentioned, it has a full set of APIs, and we've rarely had issues doing that. Then, we look at your current system performance, limitations, if you have any pain points. Sometimes, during a migration, we don't always migrate everything one-to-one. Sometimes we see where there's opportunity to redesign things and make things better in Automic. So, like I said, that gives you an opportunity there. If there's something that's causing you pain now, we take a look at that and see how that would work in Automic and maybe improve it during the process. And then you build your team. First, you'll need a dedicated project manager, someone who's going to keep the project moving and clear out any roadblocks you hit. Then there's the technical experts, the workload automation experts, who are going to be the SMEs or the subject matter experts for Automic in your environment. You want to get those people lined up. And then, we'll need access to your infrastructure admins, your server, network, and database administrators. In addition to that, we'll need also the admins of the applications we'll be integrating with, such as, mentioning Oracle e-business or JD Edwards Informatica. We'll need the administrators of those applications as well to help us get integrated with Automic. And also the business stakeholders. All right. And then this is just the V24 considerations. V24 is the latest version of Automic. We just talked about who's required. Like I mentioned, your infrastructure team and application admins. But the big change, whether you're upgrading or migrating to Automic V24, they added support for UTF-8 support in the database. So this is we have to convert the database before we upgrade you. So typically we've been doing parallel upgrades in these cases, going to V24 with customers, leaving their current system intact and functioning and standing up a new V24 system. And that way, we leave everything running as is and migrate things over to the new system and start testing there. And once things are ready, we start running them in the new environment. And just a note, obviously, migration window will be longer if migrating from another product versus, just upgrading from Automic 21. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, the migrating from another product. So typically what you'll want to do is, gauge what's going on in your environment. You probably don't want to do the migration to V24 when you're in the middle of a new project in Automic when a lot of changes are happening. You're probably going to look for like a spotter if you have the opportunity where there's not much development going on in Automic. And also looking if it's possible to do a code freeze and for how long when you're migrating. Testing, and then, testing as well, with migrating versus upgrading will be higher, more time involved. But I always start, testing, whenever we go to a new version, is first with all the individual job types, such as, hey, I have batch scripts, FTP jobs, Informatica jobs. we always start at that level with all the basic, job types, getting those tested first, and then move on to some of your smaller, workflows and processes, and then gradually move on to the more complex ones. When doing a migration, we'll usually sit down with a customer, come up with a game plan, and break things out into groups of jobs and workflows, things that can be migrated at the same time. A lot of times, we'll migrate the heavy, the more frequent jobs, the things you're running every minute or hour that don't have a lot of complexity, but just need to just run very often. We'll usually migrate those jobs first and then break out the processes into jobs that are related and do them in batches. But we do that with you sitting down and analyzing them and seeing what's dependent on what and what things we can move together at the same time.
Dennis,
Yeah.
question that just came through on the chat, and sorry to go back just one block here. On code freeze needs, do you have like an average amount of, the question is there an average amount of time we have to keep our code frozen? I think the question is essentially, what do you see generally, knowing that different customers have different needs?
Yeah, it is a hard question because again, every customer is a little different. We have small customers, large customers. I guess if I just look for the average in the middle, when going between, like again, if it's just an upgrade from V21 to V24, that's not much. You're staying on the same platform. You know what I mean? You're talking maybe weeks at most, right? Whereas when you're doing a conversion, from another platform, those typically take longer, and it is hard to do a code freeze for like months, obviously. But in those cases, we're going to talk a little bit more about it later. Is if you can't do a complete code freeze, it's still just keeping track of the changes between there. But on average, a conversion, you're looking at months, maybe 3 to 6, you know what I mean, depending on the size. So hope that helps.
Okay, that's helpful. And then also just a quick reminder for everyone who's on, if you also have questions, the chat between participants is disabled, but if you have a question, use the Q&A function and that will come through and we'll be able to, all panelists will be able to see it. Okay, thanks, Dennis.
Oh, sure. No problem. And then the last thing here is just, gauging the number of agents and clients that you have in your system. And then we kind of, build a statement of work around that, and how long it'll take. And typically, once we get through your test environment, that helps us gauge how long production is going to take. So, we always start in your lower environments, work through all the issues there. And by the time we get through there, we have a pretty good idea how long production is going to take. All right. So here we're, talking about our data migrations. We do specialize in migrating to Automic. That's where, when I was at part of Automic, that was my role in the States, doing conversions and migrations. So these are ones we have current, solutions for. And if we don't have one, we've built many as custom and migrations and over the years. So even if it's not on the list, we can probably still help you. And again, yeah, just, our proven experience. We're going to show here later in this slide, some of our customers we've done and, their experiences and talk about that, some of the use cases out there, or case studies, I mean. Cool. All right. And the first thing we do in any conversion is first an inventory of the source system, right? We go out there and look at your current environments. What do you have? A prod, non-prod, a QA, a dev? How many environments do you currently have? Then we sit down and we discuss with you and look at how we can do it. A lot of times what we like to do to save time and also it's nice is we try to see if we can use your production data to build your non-prod environments. This saves time. Also, it's usually nice because it, again, gets you back in a place where all your environments are in sync again, where your test and prod, have the same exact jobs and, are in sync. A lot of times over years, solutions, they tend to get out of sync over time. And then we dig into things, just looking at what operating system you're using. Do you have Windows, Linux, AIX? What type of systems you're scheduling jobs on currently? And then we dig into, what integrations do you use currently? Oracle e-Business, JD Edwards, Informatica, things like that. We look at all the current solutions you're using. And then, also look at things part of the environments. Do you have a DR or do you want to set up a DR going forward? And then it's digging into, like I mentioned, we dig into, hey, what customizations do you have in your current environment, or and are you using any APIs in your current environment? For example, are you using APIs in any scripts or programs to submit jobs from other applications? So we could see how those need to be redesigned for Automic. Okay. And then the next step is source system cleanup. What we always want to try to do is get the source system as clean as possible before we start the migration. Cleaning up any old or unused objects. I've been doing these for a long time, and it's always amazing. Well, it's not amazing, but again, I just typically see a lot of environments where 40% or more of the objects out there are no longer used anymore, and just sitting there, you know what I mean, and are marked inactive. A lot of times we like to spend time trying to get that cleaned up before the conversion, because it reduces then the time and effort in the conversion and the migration. And I think in the end, it gets you started with a much cleaner, fresher environment in Automic without bringing over a lot of old baggage that's no longer going to be used. You know what I mean? Sometimes people make things inactive, just because they say, oh, we might need to turn it back on again. But there gets a point, after a year or two that it's probably not going to come back again. So, like I said, that's a big part of the conversion, is trying to do a cleanup in the source environment. Okay, then there's the environment preparation, making sure your hardware, the operating system and databases meet our system requirements. And also, we'll give you the prerequisites for things like, Java and Apache Tomcat, the other software we need, and what the required versions are. And we go through, with the compatibility checklist there, and make sure everything is ready prior to getting started. Okay. All right. And then after that, we have the source system export file we create. So this is where we're going to export data from your current system to input to our conversion programs. And this is when you want to, time it to, like I mentioned, like, hey, the best time to do it, where there's maybe not a lot going on in the current automation tool, not a lot of development. We don't want to, start it at the same time you're starting another project, if possible. But we send you instructions on how to export the data from your current solution, and then provide you a place to upload it to us. And once we receive it, we make sure that it's good and in the correct format, and that we got the right data from you. All right, then there's the migration test. We process your data through the conversion tool and evaluate the results. And that's where we sit down with you and identify what converted successfully and what, if anything, had some issues encountered. You know what I mean? Based on this, a lot of times we, make adjustments to the conversion program to resolve the issues, or we assess whether it's better to redesign it in Automic. And typically, our conversion programs get 80% or more converted automatically, and it's like the 20% or less that we have to deal with and see what needs redesigned. But like I said, a lot of times that leads to improvement. You know what I mean? A lot of times there's better features in Automic that allow you to do things maybe cleaner or better than you were before. And then we generate the import file. So we take that data, you export it, we run it through our conversion program. Then we get it back to you, and we load it into one of your, your test environment we created, and start testing it. Like I mentioned, we start with, low level testing all the different program types or job types. your shell scripts, your FTPs, your Informatica jobs, and so on. We start at that level and then start testing, your processes. And we sit with you, and usually customers can identify like, hey, we test these few workflows, and this is similar to like 80% of the other workflows we have. So we try to work with you and try to get things tested, in that fashion. Like, hey, testing this workflows means, that pretty much this is how the other workflows work as well. And then we repeat the process, for each of your environments being migrated. And typically, as always, the first one's the hardest, and after that, the rest get easier because we learn as we go with your data. Cool.
Dennis, before we move on to the next slide, we've got two questions that came through here. The first question, it looks like David answered it, but I just want to make sure that it gets surfaced for other people who might have a similar question. We're currently using AppWorks Automic with Ellucian Banner, looking forward to Banner SaaS. Does Automic support Banner SaaS? Most importantly, continuing to trigger Banner jobs. And is that a change you'd recommend doing alongside or before that SaaS migration? And that's kind of specific, but I bring it up because I think a lot of people are probably thinking about whether it's the SaaS version of their legacy ERP application or Automic SaaS. That's kind of top of mind for folks.
Got it. So okay, there's a lot right there. So,
yeah, so
they're moving from AppWorks to Automic.
We're currently using AppWorks Automic with Banner and looking forward to Banner SaaS.
Oh, okay, good Banner SaaS. Okay.
Banner SaaS?
Yeah. And David, correct me if I'm wrong, but correct. Well, they do, right? I don't think I've technically worked with one yet, but I'm pretty sure it does. So is that David's answer, Wendy? Yeah.
Well, I was seeking clarification. Are they talking about Applications Manager with Banner SaaS or the legacy Automic product? Are they thinking about migrating from Applications Manager to Automic?
They said AppWorks Automic, but I know some people refer to AppWorks as Automic because of all the naming processes we went through after the merger of Automic. So if it's, I believe they're asking about AppWorks working with Banner SaaS. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I spoke with the project manager at Broadcom about this recently. Yeah. Their goal was to offer the same functionality and seamless integration for Banner SaaS that they currently offer for their on-prem customers. An initial alpha version has already been validated, and they're working to deliver a general availability release next year at the latest. So that's the latest.
Okay, so it's not out yet.
Okay.
But I can be reached at david@automworks.com if anybody wants to dig into that a little further. I'm happy to help coordinate a call and get you the answers you're looking for.
Thanks, David. Okay, and thank you for the person who posed the question. There was one other before we move on that's related. In terms of conversions, when you're doing these conversions, do you use a proprietary conversion tool?
That's correct. We have our own proprietary conversion tools we use. And that being said, normally though, like I said, the way these usually happen, we run it through there. And every customer is always a little different. They end up making some little tweaks to the conversion tool for each customer, depending on what we see. So, yep. Cool. And here's just, a quick example project plan. This customer has 4 environments. The way these always start, we first, go and install a non-prod environment and do training to get all the, folks that will be working with Automic, trained and familiar with the product. And then we go through that process I just, went through for each of your environments, non-prod, getting things tested and validated. And once, we get through the test environments and things look good, then we install production. And we do, a migration then of the prod data, non-prod data into production and provide go live support once we get to that point. So this is a larger one. They have 4 environments in this example. All right. And here we just had a couple examples of the rapid automation solutions, showing you that these are very good, advanced solutions. Like this is an example of an Oracle e-business job. And this shows you all the different, attributes, of an Oracle e-business job you can assign and pass into our solution. So it's one of the best out there, and we have one of the top Oracle e-business folks that work with us, Ryan Bark. He did the majority of the initial installs and worked very closely with development, creating this solution. Like I said, it's one of the best ones out there for our Oracle e-business. And this is an example of JD Edwards. Again, another one of the really, robust integrations we have for Automic, using the rapid automation agents. Again, it's been delivered several times, and this is actually one of the ones I worked with development on, because I initially in AppWorks worked with them on the initial JD Edwards integration, and worked with development at Automic to build this agent. So very familiar with these, with the JD Edwards integration. And you see there, one of the things too, a lot of these input boxes have drop downs to make it very easy. Like in the JD Edwards case, you see that little box to the right of the input screen there. If you click on that, it gives you a list. So you don't have to automatically know all this information and exactly what to type in. It gives you a pick list to pick from. Cool. All right, and this is H&I. This is an interesting story. This is one of the original AppWorks customers that moved to Automic. And at the time, they were also converting from JD Edwards to Oracle e-business. And the plan was, let's get all the new Oracle processes migrated to Automic, and the old JD Edwards processes we leave in AppWorks to, because they're going to go away eventually. Well, time went on, and that didn't quite happen as quickly as they wanted. And it got to be 2020. It was getting close to 2020 when the version of AppWorks they were on was no longer going to work in 2020. So they were kind of under the gun in 2019 to get, even though it wasn't going to be running that much longer, and they needed to get it converted from AppWorks to Automic. So they came to us, and we helped them get all that migrated from AppWorks into Automic before 2020. And they were very interested because they used a lot of the AppWorks APIs in their jobs and scripts. So they had, programs there submitting jobs to AppWorks, and we had to go through and get that all converted to use the Automic APIs. And I think you see the note from Eric, the person I worked with there, that, every time they thought there was a showstopper, we got things working. And like I said, we did get that done and ahead of time, so they were prepared for 2020. Cool.
Okay.
Yep. And then this was another interesting one I worked on. This company, 8451 in Cincinnati, Ohio. They were originally a Redwood customer, and I forget what happened. They were a larger company, then split off from a larger company, and that's when they got into some type of licensing dispute with Redwood. And they were like, well, we need to get off Redwood, but their Redwood license was up within 90 days. So they only had 3 months to get off the product, or Redwood was going to come in and, make sure that they were no longer running the product. So we had 90 days, and this was one of the largest Redwood customers from what we were told to get done. And so it was very good there, though. They did give me a dedicated group of people there. Sometimes when doing a migration, really one of the keys is getting a good project manager that keeps things moving, and a group of people that aren't going to get pulled off into other projects are always like, hey, I got to step away. I'll be back, in a day or two, right? So they knew they had to get this done in 90 days. They gave us a dedicated team. I think it was like 6 of their people we worked with, and started digging into it. And in addition to that, even because they made a lot of use of the Redwood APIs as well, so a lot of it needed redesigned. But like I said, in all this, even though it was done in 90 days, we made a lot of improvements. They were missing a lot of SLAs in Redwood. And you see the note there from Jess Schmidt, their employee, we reduced, 90% of the SLA breaches. So it was really had to get a lot of work done in a short amount of time, but they gave us the resources, what I needed. And, we had what we needed to get it done. A good conversion tool that got, again, 80% converted. And for the things that didn't convert, we worked with their people, showed them how to convert it, and then we, broke off into separate groups. And, I got it all done. So it was really and I think this is one of their, even I think Broadcom uses this case a lot when, showing people our conversion capabilities.
Dennis, this is a question from me. In both of these case studies, you've mentioned getting things done quickly, and you also mentioned having a dedicated team. From your perspective, having done many upgrades, conversions, what is the critical thing that the customer can do to prepare to make sure that these projects don't drag on for a long time?
Right. Well, there's two, what I mentioned a couple screens back to. The one thing I like to do as much as possible is sometimes I've even done a small project with customers to get their current environment cleaned up. So like I said, the cleanup of the current environment. And even if we can't clean up everything, it's really identifying what needs to be converted, right? Okay, if we can't go through and really do, a cleanup of stuff, you really need to give us, like, hey, here's the list of, jobs and workflows that need to be converted. That way we're not wasting time looking at a lot of junk that, isn't even running in the current system. And then, like I mentioned, 84, really what makes a conversion successful is, getting the people dedicated to the project, you know what I mean? And having the people that are familiar with these, because I come in, I don't know their processes until I start working with their team, right? You know what I mean? I know the product and the solutions, but everybody uses these products a little differently sometimes, so it's like getting me the resources I need to quickly get things resolved, you know what I mean? And if I have questions, having that person with that knowledge on their side, quickly available to me. So those are really always, in my opinion, the two biggest keys, and again, a good project manager. A lot of times if there's not a good project manager, you just kind of see people slip away and move, and I've worked with some really good, project managers that really keep the project on schedule, right? If something's blocking us, they go dig into the why and what's holding it up. You know what I mean? If it's simply like, hey, we need to get a firewall open. Well, this normally takes 2 days. Well, this project, like that one, we only had 90 days. We can't wait the normal, so things like that.
Great. A question, do we have support for table conversion jobs for JD Edwards agents now, or for the JD Edwards agent? Support for table conversion jobs.
I've been looking. Now you can still run them using the run UBE. So for some reason, there's two job types with the JD Edwards agent. There's one that uses run UB XML and one that just runs the old run UBE. The older run UBE type can still run the table conversions. At one point, I was hoping they were going to allow run UB XML to run the table conversion jobs. I don't know if that has happened yet, but like I said, let me take a look at something here. Now, and actually, I just see something else too. There was a way I had some customers, they wrapped the table conversion job with another UBE or, in JD Edwards. So that was a workaround that they were able to wrap the jobs to get them to work with Run UB XML. But if you get that person's contact, we can dig deeper into that.
Okay. Another question that I think is probably on a lot of folks' minds: does conversion happen in bulk, or does the client team have to do it job by job or workflow by workflow?
I guess, well, what we do is, typically we get a full export, now again, if they do take time, sometimes we do have them resend exports, like, hey, we added a mess of new jobs. Let's run this through and then, send the delta, over, you know what I mean? So let's say if that's the case where, hey, the conversion's taking several months and we have some new jobs that were created in the old system, they can resend us an export. We'll convert that and, get it put in there and get it synced again. And what else was I going to add there? I lost my train of thoughts, but that's normally, yeah. But then when it comes to migrating, like, I don't know if they're talking about just, like, we always do it in bulks of jobs. And then when we get to the point when you're going live in production, sometimes we like to do it like in groups of jobs, right? In phases, I guess you would say. Where, like I said, I like to start with the what I call the jobs that run every minute or every hour that don't have a lot of complexity. They're just, run very often. We usually start with getting those migrated in first. And then we go to, like, okay, here's some of your smaller processes that, again, don't have a lot of dependencies. Let's get that group over next. And then it is, working with you to see, like, hey, how can we break these processes apart into groups so we don't have to go live all at once? You know what I mean? Very rarely do we do what we used to call the big bang, go live everything at once, right? You know what I mean? You try to do it in phases. Like I said, easiest, and then gradually getting to your most complicated. But when it comes to just doing the conversion itself, like I said, we get the full export at the time. And then I realize, some conversions do take time, so new things happen, but you can always reprocess data. You know what I mean? So if things go on in the old system, if it's 2 months. But if there's not a lot of changes, I will say one of the things I do like to do with customers too is use it as a training exercise. Because now that you're moving to Automic, you have to learn how to use Automic, right? You're not always going to go back to the old system to make a change. You have to learn how to make these same changes in Automic. So sometimes if it's just a handful of changes, I'll work with the customer and show them, almost as a training exercise, how to make these same changes in Automic. You know what I mean? So if we created one new job and changed some parameters, well, let's just do that straight in Automic and start getting you trained on how you're going to start doing it going forward. You know what I mean? Because at some point, the old system goes away and you're just in Automic. So, like I said, sometimes that works out just being a training exercise as well.
Great. Speaking of training, we had mentioned this at the top, but we do offer a really wide range of training courses. I think that a lot of folks have seen over the years that investing in that training really helps people get the most out of the Automic platform, which really is quite robust. And that is essentially what we have for today. If folks have other questions, please feel free to put them in there. And Dennis, if you had something to add, it sounded like maybe you had something to say.
Yeah. Just real quick, and too, in addition to those training classes, always, if there's something specific you want to do, we also do like what we call like workshops with you. Like you have, like maybe there's something you don't know how to do currently. You send us a list of things you want to learn how to do, right? And sometimes we can build a workshop around those. You know what I mean? So if you have like a new job type you want to run, or you're curious how to do something in Automic, we can also do custom workshops as well.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time. You will receive a follow-up message that has an on-demand recording of this webinar. If you have questions that you think of after we turn the session off, please feel free to send those along. We're always available at info@atomworks.com, just on our website, atomworks.com, or you can reach out to any of us. We love talking to people. We love helping people be successful with workload automation across all different types of applications and use cases. So drop us a line, any question that you have, always happy to chat. Super appreciate your time. We're ending a little bit early, so enjoy the extra 12 minutes in your day. And I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe 4th of July holiday weekend.